From the moment I met Evan Walker, something deep in my chest whispered a warning. He was handsome, polite, and confident, too confident. His compliments came polished, his smile timed perfectly, like someone who had practiced charm in front of a mirror. My daughter, Clara, was enchanted. She said he made her feel seen, loved, complete. I didn't have the heart to tell her that some men look at love the way hunters look at prey. When he proposed, Clara ran to me with tears of joy. I smiled, hugged her, and said all the right things, but my heart sank. At the wedding, he thanked me for raising such a generous woman, emphasizing generous just a little too much. I noticed how his eyes glimmered when the discussion turned to our family company, to money, to legacy. For a while, they seemed happy. They traveled often, dined in luxury, lived the kind of life social media loves. But happiness built on illusion always cracks. Slowly, I began to see the shadows in Clara's eyes. She stopped visiting as often. Her laughter sounded rehearsed. Then came the small red flags, a missing statement, an unfamiliar withdrawal, a vague business investment. Evan wouldn't explain. Clara brushed it off, but I didn't. I had built my husband's business from nothing. I knew greed when I saw it. One evening, I found an unsigned bank document on Clara's desk. Her name on it, but the handwriting wasn't hers. That was the moment I stopped pretending not to see. I didn't confront him, not yet. I began quietly moving assets, consulting lawyers, securing what was rightfully Clara's. If Evan wanted a game of deceit, I would give him one, but he would never know he'd already lost. That night, as I watched Clara sleep peacefully on my sofa, I whispered to myself, "You may fool her, Evan, but not me." And so began my silent war, not of anger, but of protection, patience, and a mother's unshakable love. The morning of the divorce hearing was gray and silent, the kind of silence that hums before age. Storm, Clara sat at her vanity, her trembling hands trying to steady a simple silver necklace. "Mom," she whispered, "what if he wins?" I touched her shoulder gently. "Truth doesn't lose, sweetheart, it only waits." When we arrived at the courthouse, Evan was already there, dressed sharply, smirking as though this was a business meeting rather than the end of a marriage. He greeted Clara with fake warmth, then turned his charm on the room, shaking hands with confidence. I sat in the back row, still and quiet, like a watcher waiting for the trap to spring. The judge entered, and the proceedings began. Evan's lawyer painted him as a devoted husband, claiming Clara's fortune was a shared effort. Clara's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't break. She had learned strength from pain and a little from me. Then came Evan's turn to speak. He rose, buttoning his suit jacket, flashing a confident grin. "Your Honor," he began smoothly, "my wife wouldn't have her fortune without me. I supported her through every decision. I plan to live off her wealth. It's what I deserve." A gasp swept through the courtroom. Even the judge blinked, taken aback by his arrogance. Clara's lawyer started to object, but I raised a hand slightly, a signal to wait. "Not yet, let him dig deeper," Evan continued, leaning casually on the stand. "She owes me this. Her family's company, I was part of it. Their money, I helped manage it. I've earned my share." The judge's voice grew cold. "Mr. Walker, are you saying you're entitled to your wife's inheritance?" "I'm saying I'll live off it," Evan replied, smiling. "And there's nothing anyone can do about it." The words echoed across the courtroom like a slap. I felt Clara flinch beside me. Then the judge's eyes found mine, calm, unblinking. "Mrs. Graham," he said, "you've been silent all morning. Would you care to add something?" I rose slowly, smoothing the folds of my coat. Evan turned, his grin faltering for the first time. "Yes, Your Honor," I said evenly. "I think it's time the court knows the truth about where that fortune really lies." The room stilled. The air changed, because what Evan didn't know, what no one knew, was that I had already taken back everything he thought he owned. and the next few minutes would destroy him completely. All eyes turned toward me as I stepped forward, the echo of my heels cutting through the courtroom's silence. Evan tried to mask his discomfort with a smirk, but I saw his fingers twitch. He didn't know yet, but he could feel something slipping away. "Your Honor?" I began, handing the bailiff a thick folder. "These are financial statements, property deeds, and trust documents. They will show that Mr. Walker has no legal claim to my daughter's assets, because those assets belong to me." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Explain, Mrs. Graham." I met his gaze steadily. "Months before my daughter filed for divorce, I transferred every major asset, the family business, the estate, the bank accounts into my own trust. I had reason to believe Mr. Walker was mismanaging and moving funds. As these documents prove, he forged signatures and transferred money into shell accounts under fake company names." Evan's face drained of color. "That's absurd," he snapped, his voice cracking. "She's lying. She's trying to ruin me." The judge flipped through the evidence. His expression hardened. "Mr. Walker," he said sharply, "these are notarized records. The signatures match yours, and the account numbers lead directly to your name. Care to explain that?" Evan opened his mouth, then closed it again. His lawyer tried to speak, but I continued calmly, my tone firm but controlled. "Your Honor, I stayed silent because I wanted my daughter to see the truth for herself. Evan didn't love her. He loved what she represented. But he made one mistake. He underestimated a mother who has built, lost, and rebuilt everything in her life." The courtroom murmured. Clara turned in her seat, tears glistening in her eyes this time, not from pain, but from realization. The judge slammed his gavel. "Mr. Walker, your claim to Mrs. Graham's and Mrs. Walker's assets is hereby dismissed. Based on the evidence, this court recommends an immediate investigation for fraud and perjury." Evan's composure shattered. "You can't do this to me," he shouted. "You'll regret it." I stepped closer, my voice low but steady. "No, Evan, you regret it. You just don't know how much yet." Security approached as he ranted, his perfect image crumbling in front of everyone. I turned back to Clara, who sat frozen in disbelief. "It's over," I whispered, placing a hand on her shoulder. "He can't hurt you anymore." And as the officers escorted Evan out of the courtroom, his arrogance replaced by humiliation, I felt something deep and quiet settle in my heart, not triumph, but peace. He had played his game well, but I had finished it better. Outside the courthouse, the sun was dipping low, casting a golden glow over the city. Clara clung to my arm, her tears finally spilling freely. But this time, they weren't just for heartbreak. They were tears of relief, of freedom, of survival. "He's gone." I whispered gently, "You're safe now." Clara looked up at me, her voice trembling. "Mom, I don't know how to thank you. You saved me, my life, everything." I smiled softly. "No, darling, I didn't save you from him. I reminded him, and you, that some treasures are untouchable, not because of money, but because of love and courage." In the weeks that followed, Evan Walker's world unraveled. His fortune evaporated under investigation. The accounts he had tried to siphon were frozen. The companies he manipulated investigated. His friends abandoned him. No glamorous life remained, only a public record of greed, deceit, and disgrace. Meanwhile, Clara reclaimed her life. She reopened her design studio, poured her heart into her work, and began a foundation to help women escape financial abuse. She learned to trust again, not blindly, but wisely. She became stronger, wiser, and fearless. I watched her quietly from the sidelines, proud beyond words. Revenge had been mine in its most elegant form. I hadn't shouted. I hadn't humiliated him publicly. I had simply ensured that he could no longer touch our lives, and that Clara could rise stronger than ever. One evening, As we sipped tea on the porch and the roses swayed gently in the breeze, Clara leaned against me and said, "Do you think he ever loved me?" I held her hand tightly, smiling through the quiet warmth. Maybe he thought he did, but love without respect is never love, and now he has nothing, while you have everything you deserve. Clara laughed softly, a sound I hadn't heard in months, full, free, unafraid. The sweetest revenge, I realized, isn't in ruin or rage. It's in peace. It's in seeing the ones you love thrive, while those who sought to harm fade into nothing. And somewhere, far away, Evan Walker realized too late that the fortune he coveted wasn't money at all. It was her, and that he would never have again,